All right, number 46, the grocery store sells dates for $4 a pound and pomegranates for $2 a pound. So this is just our follow-up, very similar to the last question we did, number 45 in our last video. Write an equation in standard form for the weights of dates D and pomegranates P that a customer could buy with $14. So since we talked about it pretty thoroughly in the last example, or last problem, we can run through this one a little bit faster. We're going to take $4, that's what the dates sell per pound, so times our number of dates, plus the pomegranates cost $2 times P, which represents the weight of our pomegranates, equals a total of $14 that the customer can spend. There's an equation in standard form. All right, so 47, we're getting into our parallel and perpendicular lessons. So thing we want to remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So number 47, write the equation of the line that is perpendicular to this line and passes to the point 0, 4. So the only thing that we need to know about this line is what the slope is. If I look at this form, this is point slope form, y minus 4 equals negative 3 halves times x minus 0. What I need to get out of this line, this equation, is just the slope. The slope is that negative 3 halves right in front of the parentheses with the x. And then what we're going to do is we're going to identify what the perpendicular slope to that would be. So our perpendicular symbol is just an upside down T, and then M is our slope. So perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals. So opposite means change the sign. Reciprocal is when you flip a fraction. So instead of negative 3 halves, we're going to have a positive 2 thirds. And then they told us to go through the point 0, 4. We don't need this line that they gave us for anything else. We just had to identify the slope, so we knew what perpendicular slope to use. As I glance at all of these answer options, I can see those are in point slope form. So just a reminder, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. They're giving us an x1 and y1 with that ordered pair. So we're going to say y minus our y1 is 4 equals our slope that is perpendicular to the line they gave us is 2 thirds times x minus x1 is 0. So do we have an equation that looks like the one we just wrote? Y minus 4 equals 2 thirds times x minus 0. That is going to be option C. All right, number 48 is our follow-up to what we just did. So same idea. Write an equation of a line that is perpendicular, that's a key word, to this line and passes through the point 2, 4. So again, the only thing we need from the line they gave us is the slope. This line has a slope of 3, so the perpendicular slope is going to be an opposite reciprocal. Opposite is going to be negative, and then 3, that's not a fraction, but you can write 3 as a 3 over 1. And then when you do a reciprocal of that, you get a 1 third. All right, so then we're going to cross off that line because we don't need it for anything else. We don't want to get confused by it. We're going to use the point x2, 4. We're going to use that point in our line so that our line goes through that point. So up above, we just did point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We're just going to follow that same structure for this equation. So y minus our y1 is 4 equals, we need our perpendicular slope, negative 1 third, times x minus the x1 is a 2. So I just use the 2 and the 4 from the ordered pair that we have to cross through, and we made sure to use a perpendicular slope. All right, number 49. What is the equation in slope-intercept form? Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b of the line that passes through the point 4, negative 5 and is parallel, oh, there's a key word, to the graph of y equals 1/4 x minus 3. So we need to be parallel to this line. Parallel lines will have the same slope. So the slope of this line they gave us is this 1/4, that is slope-intercept form. So we're going to use a slope of 1/4. We're going to use the same slope so that we're parallel. Then we're going to cross off that line because we don't need it for anything else. Let's not get confused and try to use that -3 for anything. And then we are going to write an equation that passes through this point for -5. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Right now we know our slope. We wrote it down, it's a 1/4. What we don't know is the y-intercept. So that's where this other point that's going to be in our line comes in. We can use this x and this y to help us solve for our y-intercept. So we're going to replace the y with a -5 equals, our slope is 4. No, it's not. Our slope is a 1/4 times the x from our ordered pair is a 4 plus our y-intercept of b. All right, well, let's simplify this. 4 times a 4th is just a 1, so we have -5 equals 1 plus b, and then we will subtract 1 from both sides, solving for that b. 1 minus 1 is 0, so that cancels away. B is equal to a -5 minus 1, which is -6. So our equation, we have what we need for slope-intercept form. Y equals, the parallel slope is 1/4 x, and we just found the y-intercept is -6. All right, number 50, tell whether the lines for each pair of equations are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. To answer this question, we need to know the slopes of the two lines. If they're the same slope, they'll be parallel. If they're opposite reciprocal slopes, they'll be perpendicular. And if they don't have either of those relationships, then we would say neither. So this first one, y equals 1/3 x minus 9, that is slope-intercept form. So we can identify the slope right here with the x. So our slope is 1/3. We want to see how that compares to the slope of the second line. This is standard form. We don't know the slope from standard form. So we are going to take this and actually solve for y so that it looks like this one. If you solve for y, you'll have slope-intercept form, and then we can identify the slope. To get the y alone, we can do that in 2 steps. We start by getting this x term to the other side of our equation. We can do that with addition or subtraction. Because it's a positive 2x, we're going to subtract 2x. I'm going to subtract 2x to the other side. 2x minus 2x is 0, so that simplifies away. We'll carry down our 6y equals. Now, these are not like terms. This term has an x, this term does not. So we won't actually put those together to get a -18. We're going to keep them separate, but we're going to put that x term right after the equal sign. So I want to write the -2x first, and then the -16 after that. All right, we have not finished solving for y. We're going to get that 6 to the other side. Y is being multiplied by 6, so we divide by 6. When we divide, we do have to divide every term by 6. You don't need only a like term like addition or subtraction. 6 divided by 6 is 1, leaving us with y equals. Now -2x divided by 6. We're going to focus on just the fraction part, that -2/6. That will actually reduce to a -1/3. Divide both of those by 2, you'll get a -1/3, and then x minus, now 16 divided by 6, we could divide those by 2, and we'll get an 8/3. So what did we need from this equation? Just the slope. This slope is a -1/3. So let's see. For these lines to be parallel, they would have to have the same slope. So is 1/3 the same as a -1/3? No, these lines are not parallel. Are they perpendicular? Perpendicular would be an opposite and a reciprocal. I can see that they are opposites. This one's positive, this one's negative, but are they a reciprocal? The reciprocal of 1/3 is a 3/1, which this is not. So these are not perpendicular. So if we say no to parallel, we say no to perpendicular, that just means they don't have either of those relationships, so they are neither. All right, number 51, same idea. We have to identify the slope for both lines and then see how they compare. This first one, ready to go, y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. Slope-intercept form, we can pull the slope right out there, m equals negative 1/2. Now over here, we don't know the slope until we're solved for y. This is standard form. To solve for y, we're going to start by getting this x term to the other side of the equal sign. We can do that with addition or subtraction. It's a negative 2x, so we are going to add 2x to both sides. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0, so it simplifies away, leaving us with 4y equals. Now, like I said in the last example, this 2x is not a like term with that negative 4. And the other one, it was a negative 2x and a 16. But this one has an x, that one does not, so we can't put those together. We'll just write them side by side, but we do want to write the x term first. So 2x minus 4. All right, let's go back to our y. We're multiplying by 4, so we will divide by 4. When we do that division, everything divides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1 times y, which leaves us with just y. Now 2x over 4 will reduce the 2 over 4 to a 1/2 x. And then negative 4 divided by 4 is a negative 1. All right, so now that we have solved for y, we can see that our slope is 1/2. And let's see how these two slopes compare. For these equations to be parallel, the slopes would have to be the same. Is negative 1/2 the same as a positive 1/2? It is not. Perpendicular, they would have to be opposite and a reciprocal. They are opposite. This slope is negative, this slope is positive, but those are not reciprocals of each other. And so if they are not parallel and they are not perpendicular, they are neither.